from the capital city of Charleston, West Virginia, this is Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
And good Sunday morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Inside West Virginia Politics. Mark Curtis here with my co-host, Adrienne Robbins. We're going to get to major developments in the race for West Virginia governor in a moment. But first, let's do some international politicking. We have the high honor and privilege of hosting today the Hungarian Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Péter Szijjarto. Welcome to Charleston, West Virginia.
Thanks for the invitation. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for being here and stopping by our studio.
Good to meet you.
My pleasure.
What brings you to West Virginia? I mean, you're not here just to enjoy our beauty. I mean, you want to get some business done, don't you?
That would be let's say enough reason to come to enjoy the beauty. By the way, as a high school student, I spent more than half a year, like 20 years ago, in a neighboring state, and then that time I understood that West Virginia is one of the most beautiful states of the U.S. But what brought me back basically was that we have very, very similar dynamics when it comes to West Virginian economy and Hungarian economy, and now I try to find out what kind of mutual benefits we can take out from this phenomenon.
Obviously, it is all about us helping each other in this. What kind of trades are you looking at, and how do you think West Virginia can benefit Hungary?
Well, actually, we understand that two major industries here are the chemical and IT, and these two play an important role in upgrading the Hungarian economy. Since our administration has been in office for 9 years now, and back in 2010 when we took office, Hungary was in a very bad situation when it comes to economy. We were very close to a big crisis, and then we had to implement a very strong reindustrialization policy of the country in order to create a robust number of new jobs and create economic growth as well. But now we are entering to a new phase when instead of quantity, quality starts to matter. Meaning that instead of concentrating on a robust number of new jobs, we concentrate on the R&D share of these jobs, the technological standards, the added value. And in this case, both IT and the chemical industry play an extremely important role. And some West Virginia companies have already been in Hungary, and I try to convince them to do more, and I try to convince some newcomers to come.
We know you're meeting specifically with folks from Dow Chemical, Azimuth, as well as Mylan Pharmaceuticals, but we should point out that this isn't just a trade mission or a business. You want to make some connections in the education field. You want to make some education with our military. Talk about those aspects.
Look, what we understood from the figures, that you perform the highest growth rate of the United States, we perform the highest economic growth rate of the European Union. You have an incredibly high employment rate when it comes to the comparison to the past. We have never had so many people having a job than currently. You have a huge increase on exports. In the last 5 years, we have broken our exports records as well, meaning that we have pretty similar dynamism. But it doesn't come from scratch. I mean, it doesn't come out from blue. There's policy behind, and I want to understand your economic policy in this regard. How you make the cooperation between education and economy, how you let industry play an important role in the curriculum design of the vocational institutions. I would like to understand how you boost the economic performance, because many approaches, many decisions, of course in another form, but can be utilized in another part of the world as well. You are here living in the East Coast, we are living in the heart of Europe, but still, since there we have a lot of similarities, I want to see what kind of policies we can utilize back at home.
Obviously, one of the people you're going to be meeting with is Governor Jim Justice, and a big reason why you're here. How did that relationship start, and how did you ultimately end up here and plan this trip?
Look, it has some political reasons as well, and I hope I can afford to say a couple sentences about that as well. You know, when it comes to the U.S.-Hungary relations, under the former administration, I mean, politically speaking, we struggled and not just a bit. So when it comes to economy, when it comes to defense cooperation, we had wonderful cooperation, but when it comes to political cooperation, it didn't really exist. Since this current administration has been in place, since the Republicans have been in administration, this has totally changed. And we have a very good political relationship. There are many similarities, not only on the level of West Virginia and Hungary, but when it comes to the major political approach of your current national administration and ours. And we understand that the governor and the president enjoy a very good connection, a very good relationship, just like the president and my prime minister. So it was obvious that politically speaking, that can be also beneficial if we build some closer ties in this regard.
We know you're going to sign a memorandum of understanding. That's hard to say, with our state. We want you to come back and do business, come back often, bring your fellow countrymen as tourists to the United States. This is the most beautiful of the 50 states. Again, we want to thank the Hungarian Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Péter Szijjarto. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much.
And we want to do business.
Thank you.
We want to do business.
Amazing pronunciation. I have never heard any American pronouncing my name like that.
Well, one of your aides told me how to say it, so I appreciate that. It's great to have you. Enjoy West Virginia, and please come back.
Thank you.
We'll have more of Inside West Virginia Politics after this break.